Hello and welcome to the Rugby Chat podcast, brought to you by DrivingMaul, the website, podcast, Twitter account and YouTube channel bringing you the best in rugby predictions and opinion. Don't forget to subscribe on your favourite podcasting app so it drops into your phone every week, and also give us a 5-star review if your app does that kind of stuff. There are other stars obviously, but why would you want to do that? If you'd like to watch what happens behind the colours, we are live from 8 p.m. every Tuesday. Oh, no. Well, apart from this week when it's Wednesday. But anyway, normally on a Tuesday anyway. And you can join the discussion with our 5 questions via Twitter. Just follow @DrivingMaul and look out for the questions using #RugbyChat. I have a full house this week. So joining me from all the way in the deep south where it's been uncharacteristically hot this summer is Steve from Cornflakes Crib. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me. It's a bit cooler today, so I'm taking it. But number one, it's good.
Got lots of sun cream on?
I don't know what that is down here. Just burn and peel and then start again.
And then my mate from Hamilton, the real Mike Pullman. How you doing, sir?
Good, mate. Good to be here, and still recovering from the sevens. But yeah, fantastic event. Well done, Hamilton.
Yeah, sellout, very impressive, and obviously Fiji winning it, which is always a good. Always gets a crowd going. As Fiji winning it, even if they did beat the All Black Sevens, they call nowadays, or it's the New Zealand team. And you've been getting back into the swing of things after enjoying your cricket.
Yeah, it's going really well. Just done a few chief sessions and was unlucky not to do the sevens, but yeah, I think the New Zealand Sevens team, they've been cursed ever since we started calling them the bloody All Black Sevens. That's half the problem.
It's all in the name. It's all about the brand, isn't it? Yeah, to get the brand right. And then keeping it real from the stands, Ashwin from the West Stand Massive up in Auckland. How are you doing, sir?
Brilliant. I'm doing well. It's Happy New Year to everybody, because I think it's my first appearance for the year.
It is your first appearance. It's good to see you in a blue singlet there. It's good to see you in your nice blues outfit.
But it is It's still toasty up this way. And after running around after some 6, 7, and 8-year-olds at the cricket field, I have had a shower, people, but it's not.
The whole reason we do this via video is we don't actually have to smell each other. So anyway, we should crack on. We have 5 questions this week. We are looking at the New Zealand conference, and we're going to go through 1 question per side. So kicking us off, have the Blues finally found their King Carlos successor, or should they sign Quade Cooper? Ashwin, as the Blues fan, do you want to kick us off? Do you think they should be reaching out to Quade?
That's an interesting one, because to me, yes. To answer your question, yes. I'm going to surprise you. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, one of the things that you notice that good squads have is experience. You look at last year with someone like the Crusaders, they had Mike Delaney in the background. So it's not necessarily that you're getting Quade and he's going on the field, but if you have a truckload of injuries, he is there. But the dude's been to World Cups. He's been in the Wallaby setup for a long time. He's got knowledge, he's got experience that can be passed on. In saying that, if we could sign King Carlos to be the part of the coaching crew, you take that. But look, to bring one of the things that the Blue squad needs desperately, when you look at Perifetta, Terry Black, Bryn Gatland, Harry Plummer, all those. One thing that stands out with all those first fives, lack of experience. So to have somebody that could come in and to coach them, to guide them, wouldn't be a bad thing.
Wow, I'm flabbergasted. I'll be honest. Everyone I've talked to thinks that Quade's a bad idea for the Blues. And I'm sure I'll get some common sense out of one of the other boys from down south that's a bit cooler and not being such a hothead. So tell him why we shouldn't be having Quade, please.
It's a fair enough point that he makes, though. He does have experience. He would be good in the background, but as a player, as a first choice, nah, no chance. Because I don't want to see the New Zealand teams like Australia, where they've got, we're building up all the other overseas teams. I want to see young guys from New Zealand getting experience. Give one of those guys a full season in Super Rugby. If they're made up good enough to make the cut. Background, sure. But I mean, hey, why not put Carlos? He's playing the 10s. We'll see how good he is. Bring him back. He can go back into the Blues setup and go from there. But yeah, It would be interesting, wouldn't it, to have a guy like Quaid who's, all the things about him that he brings to the game is a bit different, isn't it, from what we normally see from an overseas player in Super Rugby. So it would be a bold move from the Blues, but couldn't see it happening and wouldn't want to see him starting the games either.
It would be the worst signing since Benji Marshall.
I think that they couldn't really go wrong with hiring him, and I say this because of his experience. I'm in complete agreement with our other mate here. You know, what else have you got? You know, I still think the jury is really out on LeBron Gatlin. Obviously, Pirafila is injured now, and Terry Black. You know, okay, he's a future great player, but right now he hasn't really impressed me in what I've seen. For anything, getting Cooper in that squad would maybe not give fans confidence, but it'd certainly attract the crowd. But the problem is that Cooper just cannot deal with that role at 10. You know, he doesn't like taking it into the tackle, and he's going to have to do that if he wants to play. But I would sign him, definitely.
Yeah, I just sort of like, just to reiterate, no way do you see him as a starting, even your backup, but to have him as the experience and then say, because we know injuries happen. If he becomes the fourth, the Stephen Donald number 4 first 5 that comes in and fills a gap, you know, it's not so bad. But, you know, no, he's not a starting. He's not first. You are looking towards the future. You are looking to promote the young guys. It's just that it'd be good to have some experience around him. And as I said right up front, having Carlos would be by far the preference, but he's still signed up with Sanix at the moment.
I think also his relationship with Sunnybill as well. You know, I don't think we can discount that. They're very close, those two, and you know, you would imagine would, you know, equate to if nothing else, really good communication on the field, and that is incredibly important between the 10 and 12.
I'm surrounded by a bunch of madmen this tonight. Okay, let's bring this back to tonight. Okay, so Terry Black's out for the season, injured. Perifeta's broken his hand, so he's out for the first month of Super Rugby, which means we are going to have to start with Bryn Gatland and Daniel Kirkpatrick. Now, I agree. The jury is still out on Bryn Gatland, but I'm sorry, but Cooper just brings too much baggage with him. Too much off the field distractions, and him and Sonny Bill Williams would just be talking about the next boxing matches and who he could get as his undercard to fight
Anthony Mundine.
No, I'm sorry. He'd be a distraction for the side. People would come to the ground to boo him, not to actually cheer him, and he just would not cope with New Zealand crowds. So any other sort of players that have gone that you think are going to be sorely missed, or players that they brought in that give you hope that they'll do well this season?
Luatua, huge. He is such a big loss. Do we need to say any more? Some people might disagree, but shit. What a player.
Look, I'm lost for words, tell you the truth, the way he was treated last year by the All Blacks management. The end of the day, he was playing in a team that came 5th in the conference and was head and shoulders the best player in the Blues outfit. Yet the All Blacks didn't really seem interested in him, and it's just, he did everything that they asked him. To me, he was the best number 6 running around the field last year, and it's just like, he's gone, and it's hard for someone like the Blues to keep having to build good players like that. Now you've got a bunch of young guys coming in that position that one day in the next couple of years could be just as good, but not this year.
So as a back row, I don't think they're going to be too bad. I mean, you can have Kano at 6, Kiriwani at 8, and probably Gibson at 7. Luatua is definitely a loss from a depth point of view, but I'd have thought losing someone like Charlie Marina up front is going to be a problem. And I don't really have confidence in that pack to give Pulu and whoever is outside him the platform to play off, really.
I think the Blues also maybe missed a trick by not picking up Mitch Karpik and Talini Siu. You know, they're both with the Chiefs. They're fantastic young players who were interested in playing with the Blues. So, yeah, it's going to be a long way forward for this team. And losing a guy like Luatua, and I don't even know. What's the status on Kaino this year? He's gone, is he? No,
at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so I mean, Kano's gone at the end of the year. So this is last season here. And
I don't think it's official. I don't think they've come out and said that he's signed, but I think the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, him and George Moala are both leaving at the end of the season, basically. So it's their last shots at it.
Good news.
Okay, Steve, go on. Tell us why George Moala is such a fantastic player and he should get so many more All Blacks caps.
Well, I'll tell you why their forward pack is not good enough to give George Marler any ball to actually do anything with this great backline that they do have. No, I'm no fan of George Moala, so I'm not going to say much more about him. Too much of a... I don't want to be mean and say intelligence, but he's kind of just a crash ball player. And speed and a bit of power. So that's his game. But what I think the trouble with the Blues are, and what I think they've missed maybe a bit of a trick, is signing a really good second rower into their team as well. Obviously, they're going to miss Faumuina. I think it's going to be huge for them. So that's going to weaken their front row. But in the second row, I was impressed with Kali Tuioti in the last season. I think he's going to be a good prospect for them. And, of course, still got Tui Pelotu as well. But just that, like a big player that's going to really firm up that whole type 5 for them and assist that front row that probably is going to need it a lot, is where they're going to lack. And you can have the best backline in the world, but if they're not getting the front foot ball, if they're not getting even decent ball half the game, it's going to be a struggle for even the best players in the world to make something out of it. And that's where the Blues really struggle. You can name that backline and you can put black jerseys on pretty much all of them, but when you're going backwards, it doesn't matter.
So are we all saying Blues for the fifth place in the conference?
I think the Blues will fight for 3rd to 5th. I think.
Yeah, I think
probably go on a bit more about that with the Chiefs and the Highlanders. It'll be my picks of those 3 spots, but I think it's going to be close. If I had to give them something, I'd give them 5th there.
Well, I mean, the Blues have actually got a really difficult schedule. I mean, they play, I think their 3rd and 4th game there in Africa against the Stormers, and I want to say the Lions. So it's going to be very, very difficult to win those, and difficult to beat the Chiefs at home as well. So, but I think they might just be a wee bit better than 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle between third, 4th, and 5th. There's going to be a battle. I think it's pretty much it's probably the closest it'll be in quite a few years that 3rd, 4th, and 5th will be a bit of a battle.
And I think just to not to dwell on this, but I also think it's important to note that how much these All Black camps are going to disrupt, particularly the Hurricanes and the Crusaders. I really think that, yes, they might still be available to play, but they're not going to be training during the week and stuff. It's just, I think that might have a bit more of a consequence than what many people are thinking.
Yes.
Whereas the Blues, short of Sonny Bill and a couple of others, they're all right.
Sonny Bill doesn't turn up to training anyway, does he? He's too good for that.
It's funny too. I mean, you mentioned outside baggage and outside influences before. I think that comes with Sonny Bill as well. So if they're going to sign him, why not sign Quay Cooper?
It is, but I think it was made by someone talked to Eddie Jones about how he said you can afford to have one Maverick in the squad. You can't afford to have more than one. You can manage one, but trying to manage more than one, it just doesn't work. So, yes, you can afford to have one guy like that in the squad. And, yes, it is Sonny Bill. You can't afford to have more than that really in there. So, anyway, let's head down State Highway 1. And, Mike, as it's your team, I will give you the first shot at this one. But the Chiefs have a new 8-9-10 combination. Can they challenge having lost their first choice decision makers?
Oh, well, they've got a lot of loose forwards. I think Talini Siu can fit into that number 8 role really well. And you got Tyler Ardron. He can potentially play there as well. He played for Canada. But I don't think so. I just think Damian McKenzie, great player, but this is going to be a huge test for him this year. He's capable, But again, like I said to you, Paul, I just think he's going to get hit by injury, and because he's played so much freaking rugby and he's got through uninjured, sooner or later, I think that curse is going to hit him. And Brad Weber still not quite sold on him, and Tua Matani, the other halfback, decent but really unproven at this level. So I think it is going to be quite uphill battle, and maybe the experience of Liam Messon will be able to help out in that 8 spot.
Yeah, when we say they've lost Leach, Keir Barlow, and Aaron Cruden, so a Japanese international and 2 All Blacks. Instead, they're going to have Liam Messam, Keir Barlow, and David McKenzie. So 3 All Blacks. Wow, that's kind of scary, isn't it?
No, Brad Weber is he's played a test for the All Blacks, but I don't think you could say he's a proven All Black yet. So, and I just think McKenzie's going to be feeling a lot of pressure as well, because he really, if you look at this back line, he is one of the senior names now, if not the senior name, apart from Charlie Natai. So,
who obviously is, I think Charlie Natai is also talking about leaving New Zealand at the end of the season as well. I think he's off to France. So
I think he's actually signed with somebody.
Yeah, Lion.
All right.
Yep.
Along with Leach. I think not Leach, sorry. I think Liam Messam is also going as well.
Yep.
From what I understand. So Liam Messam and Charlie Natai, which is interesting considering the World Cup is just 1 year away. It's normally when the players sort of stick around, but clearly both of them aren't expecting to make it. Also,
well, the
Steve,
thing with Charlie Natai is his concussion problems.
Yeah,
that's absolutely the biggest issue, I think, and I think that's the reason why he sort of thought, I got to go make some coin while I can.
Well, I think also it was the fact that he was next in line for that number 12 jersey before Sonny Bill Williams came back, and he missed his opportunity because he was concussed.
Yeah.
And then gone blank. Crotty came in there, made the jersey his own, and then it's basically and just you just can't wrestle it off. And I think Charlie Narsaga's got it's unlucky with timing. He could have been a 20, 30, 40 cap All Black, but because he got concussed at the wrong time, it just hasn't happened.
Yep. I think just going back to the Chiefs, look, when we talked about 3rd, 4th, and 5th before, you look at that squad and you go through it and thinking, well, a lot's going to depend on Mr. Cooper. Has he got the ability to gel and to get the team together like Dave Rennie did? Because obviously a lot of the success of the Chiefs came down to Dave Rennie's capability. And so it's going to be a big test for Colin Cooper. There are a lot of fresh faces in that Chiefs squad as well. But I think the one thing that they do have a benefit of, at the end of the day, again, we were talking about with the Blues, you got to win it up front. And they've still got a pretty strong front 8 that they can put on the paddock and back up.
Personally, I think with the coach, I think Cooper's the best man for the job that they could have possibly picked. Experience at good level. Pretty much, you're almost internationals with the Māori All Blacks. He's won a lot of stuff. He's performed well. He's coached a lot of players who are kind of at this sort of level. And he has that very cultured sort of style with his coaching as well, which is very much what the Chiefs are about. They are a very team-focused continuity sort of squad. And I think he fits them really, really well. I could think of a lot worse Aaron Major.
Absolutely.
That could have filled that hole. But on their team, though, I just think what's really going to strike them down is injuries. Like Mike said before, if they lose Damian McKenzie, I don't really want to see, for the Chiefs' sake, Marty McKenzie starting and running out in that number 10 jumper. Good Southern lad that he is. He's not good Super Rugby level player, and it's gonna be interesting if they lose that key spots 9 and 10. That could really be a kicker for them, and with only Leonard Brown, Natai, Tim Nano Williams, I guess, is going to shoulder a lot of responsibility if he even plays in that game in that team. There's a lot of youth, there's a lot of inexperience, and there's a lot of responsibility to go around. And the pack, especially that back row pack of players, which is really, really good, it's going to have to really carry a lot of the shoulder responsibility, this whole back line and the whole team.
And look, with Ngatai, you know, this is going to be really mean, but, you know, I can't see, he won't last the season. He will get a head knock.
No.
He'll get a head knock, and he will get a head knock at some stage, and he will be out for a long time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you'll see Ngatai miss probably 3/4 of the season, just like he did last year. On Colin Cooper, you know, I think one of the things he was saying about the Hurricanes outfit that he used to be involved with, he wasn't ready for how big the management structure at Super Rugby level is. It's actually bigger for the Hurricanes or a Super Rugby club than it is for New Zealand Māori. So I think that'll be a big test, and also his ability to really discover young talent, which was a great skill that Reddy had. Just on this injury front, though, I totally agree. If Damien goes down, not so sure about Marty McKenzie. He had his chances at 10 for both the Chiefs and the Crusaders. Didn't really do much. Sean Stevenson can potentially slot into that role. He does practice in there sometimes.
Whoa.
But also,
big call, that one.
But also, don't put it past Stephen Donald and Zach Guilford coming into the mix if there are injuries. Those two are on the list to come back if required. So keep an eye out for that one.
Make sure you get a jersey that fits this time, though.
Is anyone but Zach Guilford? Oh, God.
I'm with Mike here. Those two will be playing before the end of the season.
Yep.
Absolutely. A couple of interesting comments on the live chat. So Andre says, I think the Chiefs will struggle for consistency this season. Can't see them being the real contenders. Yep, I think that's going to be problems. Can the Chiefs pack compete week in, week out? I don't think that the problem's going to be with the pack. I think it's going to be injuries in the backs they're going to have a problem with. And Bradley Barton, if McKenzie leaves for the Highlanders next year, Chiefs are beat. McKenzie leaves the Highlanders? That's the first I've heard of that.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? I mean, they're losing Sopalanga, and he's going to come home to the glory land, my son. That's what we want to see.
Yeah,
coming back to the family.
I can't see that one.
Two hours up the road, you can go see their son play every week. You know, it sounds great.
Hey, can I hear a hallelujah? Praise the Lord.
Well, I mean, Mike isn't he off to the Tigers next season anyway?
Yeah, I think he'll be off to the UK at the end of his New Zealand contract, only if he is not the first choice 10 by then, and he probably won't be. So
in the All Blacks?
Yeah. That's where I want to
we're talking Damien here.
Past Bowden, but I think, long term, he'll have a conversation with Hanson, and if he hasn't got a place in there, I think he'll head to the UK.
If you're talking 2023 or something, then yeah, I'll agree with you on that. But no, not a chance that he'll be definitely a first choice on the name sheet. Not if Barrett's still fit and healthy.
No, we'll see.
Well, apparently he's only signed the Chiefs until 2018, so that's this season.
Wow.
You'd think they'd have to sign him at least one more year to get him to the Rugby World Cup. You'd think he'd stick around for that at least, and then maybe go after 2019.
We'll see.
Oh, he sort of sees him. I mean, not sees himself, but I think the All Black coaches obviously see him as the bench player. They even talked about the fact that they'd even like him to look at halfback and get some halfback skills under his belt, so that at a pinch they can play him in one of the pool matches on the bench.
Yeah, no. Yeah, don't ask him guys to try and learn too much. He won't be good at any of them. That's not. No, you can't. That doesn't work. Anyway, so we're all kind of a bit worried about the depth for the Chiefs and their consistency. A team that I don't think will be worried about their depth or their consistency is with the Crusaders being the most settled side in the conference. Are we looking at back-to-back champions?
Jeez, it's hard to see much else, isn't it, from this Crusaders team?
Yeah.
You look through the whole squad and it's like, where do you find a gap? Where do you find a hole? Where do you find an area where they could struggle or where you could attack them? And then you go last season when we saw the masterclass it was from the coaching as well, from Robinson against that Hurricanes game. Who would ever forget that? you struggle to see where any team can pick holes in them, and it's going to come down to trying to do something and outthinking the Crusaders in a way that your team is strong at, not in a way to get a weakness from the Crusaders, because there isn't any.
You just won't get the ball. That's the thing. You come back to what we talked about with the Blues and now the Chiefs as well. You have to compete with the forward pack. You've got to get the ball off them at the forward pack. That's the big thing, isn't it?
Well, Kieran Reid's going to be out for several months with having a back operation. So I'm not sure if he's going to play at all in Super Rugby. And so there's perhaps a small chink in the armour at number 8.
Do you really think so, though? I can't see that at all. Like when you got Samu, Taufua, Matt Todd, you got all these guys. Todd probably not, but I mean those other guys definitely get the slot straight in, no problems. 7, 8, 6, doesn't matter. Smash it.
Well, the other thing is that I'm probably doing blasphemy here, but I just don't think that Kieran Reid's been the player that he has been in the last few years anyway.
No, he hasn't.
And the fact is that we might actually see that, because he's the All Black captain, he gets automatic selection in a black jersey. But in this scenario where he's injured, we used to see it with Rishi Makua. He definitely played better in a black jersey than a red and black jersey after all those years of success. And you used to see someone like Matt Todd come along and actually put in a bigger effort.
So, Mike,
you're absolutely laid it on the plate for me. We all know how I feel about Kieran Reid. The All Blacks will not win the World Cup with Kieran Reid as captain. I don't think he's been I totally agree with you. I don't think he's been the player that he has for a long time. I think he's overrated. But yeah, Crusaders to win the title for me. Just looking at their squad depth alone, and even with All Blacks going out for camp and stuff, I think they've got the players there, to still get it done. So, yeah.
You've just got to take the words out of my mouth. So Bradley Barton says the only weakness with the Crusaders is the All Black training camps. All Blacks in and out. Will this affect them? Mike, you're saying no, they've got enough depth?
Yep, got enough depth.
I actually think the All Black training camps thing, because look, depending on when each team has their one or when it's actually scheduled for, I honestly, I'm not sure that'll be that big an impact.
I mean, how often have we seen All Blacks being missing the first 6 weeks or 4 weeks of Crusaders campaigns, and they just come in, slot straight in? It's like, game off the bench, whatever, bang, done, you're in, carry on. Yeah. No big deal.
Yeah. Carry on, garageless.
But they do lose their opening game of the season, don't they? And there's death taxes and the Crusaders losing their first game of the season.
To the Chiefs at home?
No, you don't think so?
Mike excited now.
Yeah. No, I just think Scott Robinson's got something really good going down there, and a big part of a successful team was culture and, a really good vibe within the unit. And I think that's really apparent with the Crusaders, probably more so than any other team at the moment.
He does. Apparently, Razor is not actually it's a bit of a derogatory nickname. Something about being not the sharpest tool in the box or something. So it's interesting that the not the brightest guy has gone in as actually one of the best sort of tacticians and thinking rugby coaches we have out there.
He is the lay down Nazir for All Black coach at some stage. He's had every team that he has touched, he has basically had instant success with them.
Next All Black coach for Ian Foster, and then it'll be Razor Robinson.
Ian Foster? What? What?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, totally. Ian Foster is being lined up to be the next All Blacks.
I know. Oh, yeah, but did you not read the articles in the last week where he's I forgot the guy's name. That's 2IC to Steve Tew, basically coming out saying, no, there'll be a full process that they'll go through for the selection should Steve Hansen step down.
There will be a full process that will find that it's the man.
Well,
end of story.
Steve Foster, shortest tenure as an All Black coach.
Oh, we might have to have some sweepstakes going here as to how many we lost for. Anyway, slight digression. So we're going to go all the way down south. And Steve, this one's for you. With their third coach in 3 years, can the Highlanders continue their run of making the finals? It's going for 5 years now. It's a record for them, I think.
Well, I think for the Highlanders, we're going to quickly learn, because their first game is against the Blues at Forsyth Bar Stadium. So we're going to quickly learn with them whether they're going to be up to scratch to actually get anywhere this season. If they can convincingly do something there, that'll definitely help their confidence. I think team-wise, it's pretty much what we've seen from the Highlanders over the last few years. You look at it and go, who the hell are all these guys? And then you're halfway through the season, they're doing pretty well. You still go, who the hell are these guys? And then, half of them, like, oh, it should be All Blacks. And you're still going, who the hell are these guys? They've picked up pretty decent additions to a few places, but I'm hesitant to what Major can add to this team. I haven't seen much of him. He didn't seem to bring much reps from where he was at Leicester Tigers, so it's a bit of 50-50. What he can do to this team, can he do what the other guy that left to Japan in the Sunwolves of Joseph can do? If he can do that to this team, then sure. But, I mean, not everyone can turn ordinary nobodies into top-class team players like we've seen from the Highlanders. So this team could easily finish fifth, I think, the way they're going, or they could finish third and have another finals run.
Yeah, I think this could be a team that'll just filter out in the first round of the finals, probably be an away game. So, but yeah, I mean, great players here, but it just, there's something about, I think the coaching, they need to get the coaching sorted down there. So, don't really rate Aaron Major as a coach. I sort of wonder, he came from the UK. I wonder what deals went on back there. But, they've been a bit trouble for a while, the Highlanders. So, they'll win some Kiwi derbies, but I don't think they'll go past the quarterfinal stage.
I'm not so worried about Sir Major. I mean, he left Tigers fine. He got sacked, but the players really were rating him there at the time, and the guy who's gone in hasn't done much with the players either. To me, it's about the quality. They've lost players like Joe Wheeler in the locks, Marty Banks, Fekitoa, Osborne. These are all starting players, and when you look at who's come in to replace them, Parkinson, Perry Parkinson, never heard of him. Josh Ione, don't know, Thomas Umanga Jensen, a whole bunch of guys who have only got ITM Cup, Mitre 10 Cup experience. I just don't. I think the quality they're bringing in is a bit lower than they've been brought in previously.
This is what you were saying 3 years ago, though. You were saying, who the hell is Liam Squire? Who don't know who this guy is. I think a lot's going to come down to him and Elliot Dixon. Another great Southern player, I might add to. Those two are going to have to hold this team. Luke Whitelock as well. Their back row is much like the Chiefs, except I think the Highlanders have got a bit more about their back line. That if this pack can do the damage, which is going to be the question, they could do something. But I think, like those guys you mentioned, Wheeler, not much of a loss there. Marty Banks, great. Last for the 15 minutes. He's going to kick a penalty goal from 40 metres out that'll win you the game. Yep, that's nice to have on the bank. Fekitoa's probably the biggest loss, but you got to wonder how much of his head was in the game last season as well, whether he was even longer than that. Was he gone 18 months ago? So is he much of a loss to a team that's probably been prepared without him for the last 12 months at least? I don't know if they're that bad off. It's just going to be getting these guys to perform at the level, these new guys coming in and doing what Jamie Joseph did a couple of years ago. Can he do it, though? That's the question.
Don't kick them the ball. Because basically the back three is where they get a lot of their momentum from the back three, right? I mean, always, for the last few seasons, that's where they get the momentum. And they build on that momentum when they score a couple of long-distance tries, because they always lift the spirits and everything. And so don't kick them the ball, because at the end of the day, you still got Buckman, Tavita Lee, Waisaki Naholo, Ben Smith. So they're still going to cut you to ribbons. So it'll just be a case of, especially at home, where it's a fast track, it's always a fast game, whether the forward pack will be able to keep up.
Well, I think they're going to be doing what they've always done, which is contestable kicks, which is why they love someone like Marty Banks, who's a kicking fly half. You use Aaron Smith's box kicks and Marty Banks kicking, and then you want Ben Smith, Naholo, Osborne, Lee, Fekitoa, Fadders, all these players just running in, just contesting for the ball having broken field play, and let's now cut loose. And I can see them playing the exact same all over again.
And look, actually, apart from the Crusaders, obviously, when you look at the three teams that we've talked there about outside of the Crusaders, if they have injury issues, then they could be at risk of the season falling apart with some key players gone because they won't have the backup.
But I keep hearing about this treadmill of talent. Surely there is no problem, boys.
We'll see in 6 months' time. I mean, if you look at this team, Mitchell Smith is a pretty solid fly half. I mean, if Sopwanga went out, from what I've seen of him over the last couple of years with Otago, I think he could be ready to make the step up. But it's just finding who's made up for it and who's not. I mean, you'll soon find that out in the first few rounds from these guys. Hamilton's been around for a while as well. I mean, how many games has he come off the bench at 60, 70 minutes for Aaron Smith? I mean, there's depth there. It's just not noticeable. It's not superstars. And that's what the Highlanders, they love this. This is what they want. They want to watch this and go, yep, write us off. That's what you do. Do it again. Bring it on.
Since Super Rugby started.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Except they sucked way back then, for real.
Well, no, because, that's what you think, right? You go back to, I can't remember, was it 98? Well, there's the final down at Carisbrook against Crusaders.
It was.
It's just like, you in your mind, you got, Highlanders really struggled in those first few years, but actually they made it to a final.
And Bradley comes back in again and he says, Rob Thompson is going to have a cracker of a season.
Yeah, speaking of players that need a cracker of a season, Tavita Lee. I mean, God, that guy is so good. He just never seems to really fulfill his potential. And he's probably the most frustrating man in this Highlanders team. He's great, he's fast, he's powerful, but he just seems, I don't know, is it confidence? Is it the players around him? I don't know, but he's a great player, and I just wish, if he could get a bit of form going alongside Naholo, God, that would be danger.
I think he needs consistency. That's the thing. He has these bursts and just the consistency. I mean, he'd be one of the rare ones out of Auckland that left Auckland and everybody else has ended up being an All Black, but he didn't make it after all the talk there was about him.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the last team then, which is the Hurricanes. With 10 forwards leaving in the off season, will the double World Player of the Year get the platform for a championship team again?
Oh, it's all about Bowden Barrett, isn't it? Bowden Barrett. Bowden Barrett. Bowden Barrett. Seriously, I just... No, he won't. I'm sick of hearing about Bowden bloody Barrett.
Don't think Mike's a fan of Bowden Barrett.
He's probably a fan when he's wearing a black jersey. When he's wearing a yellow one, it's a bit of a different ballgame.
The Bumblebee jersey.
The turnover that the Hurricanes seem to have had in playing personnel is just crazy. Obviously, I mentioned those 10 forwards have gone. They've lost another 3 fly halves. Terry Black, obviously, and then Peter Aki and Corey Jane have also gone. I mean, it's an awful lot of turnover that is in the squad for Boyd's last season.
You look through most of these players, though, and this that they've lost, and there's not too many that you'd say these are starting 15 guys. So there's not a huge amount lost of their key players. I mean, you could argue Corey Jane may have, but really, not really. He's not been at his best for a few years. He's just been there as the glory boy, the big showboat man, which is great for him, but he's not a huge loss. He's had his time in the sun, and the core is there, and they've just built it nicely. Like, I quite like what they've grabbed from the Rebels. Toby Smith, Douglas, Garden Bishop, season of Super Rugby under his belt will be good for him as well. Struggling along in Australia, which, I mean, you couldn't get any harsher conditions to learn there. And it just looks solid. It looks a solid team, and you get these guys on, give them 20, 30 minutes, give them 40 minutes. Before you know it, end of the season, they're playing the whole game. And they're good enough. Look at Ricky Riccatelli last year. Nobody. And he's pretty much, 2 hookers from the Hurricanes and the All Blacks team. Yeah. That's what they do. They just roll them out, as you say. Keep the chain rolling.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned the hookers. I just can't wait to see Mua. It's just like, watching him in the Mitre 10 Cup, and Alex Fideau as well, if he gets game time. But those two were just so dynamic in Mitre 10. it'd just be interesting if they can bring it to Super Rugby. It'll be great to watch.
Yeah, I think maybe their weaknesses in the locks. I mean, Thaddeus Lofa, a really good player, but boy, there is some solid talent here. I mean, Riccatelli was a huge find last year. Adi Savia, and you know, Julian Savia. A lot of people might say he's a bit past it, but he's determined, you know. And yeah, I think Real Mapi, boy, what a find. Arso as well. Arso. I hate that name.
Arso.
Yeah.
and yet Boyd reckons that Matt Proctor is the best centre in the country. So we might see Asso out on the wing to make room for Matt Proctor in there. Listening to the fantasy, I've forgotten which one it is now, podcast. Where they actually, one of the guys actually had been at a barbecue with Boyd and had a chat with him about the whole rugby thing, and you know he really does rate Matt Proctor in there. And their backline is second to none, as we know, it's going to be, if they get the platform, if those guys can step up the level from the Minor 10 Cup, then these guys are going to be seriously dangerous.
Well, just on the Savia brothers, I mean, like they're both sort of started to. Julian's obviously been on the outer with the All Blacks, on the fringes. Even Adi, sort of on the end of year tour, they were starting to prefer Matt Todd ahead of him, behind Sam Cane. So I'm sure that they'll be sort of a bit peeved and wanting to prove a point. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a lift in the game of Adi Savia in particular.
Difficult schedule though. I mean, they played first up the Bulls, and that might be easy. They'll beat the Haraguaris, whatever you pronounce it. But Crusaders followed by the Highlanders. Very interesting, that one.
It is. I mean, they wanted us to discuss the hooker conundrum that they've got from the live chat. Amua, Coles, and Riccatelli. What I basically think of this is an opportunity is to actually look after some player welfare. Coles has had head injuries, but I know 2 years ago a lot of people were saying that he should have got World Player of the Year, not Bowden Barrett, from a lot of people in New Zealand. So I think actually having 3 quality hookers is a great opportunity to rotate them and have a bit of player welfare, just look after the players.
Yep, totally agreed. We don't know where Coles is at actually at the moment, do we? What his health's like at all? Because they brought him back a couple of times last year, and each time he sort of not quite ready, and still noticing the effects. I think it was at the concussion, and there was other injuries as well. So I think Dane Coles will be interesting to see how he progresses this year, and they've got good backup with Amua and Riccatelli.
I think the All Blacks coaches would like to see how Amua goes in the Super Rugby season. I think they'll be getting the old nudge out to the coaching staff to say, give him a bit of game time. We want to see what this kid's made of. He's definitely in their plans for a good next 10, 15 years or so if they can keep him around. So they'll definitely want to be doing that. So they'll want to keep those. You've got 3 really good hookers. Just a great platform, isn't it, to set the team alight. But injuries is going to be key, I think, for this side. And they've got a bit of a conundrum if they are all fit. With their backline, especially when you got, like you talked about, Arcel on the wing, which I want to go back to that because that's terrible. Get rid of him, throw him in the scrap heap because you've got Milner Scudder, you've got Wes Houston, you got Lamb, you got Jonah Lowe, you got Julian Savia. Who needs Vince Arceau? Throw him away, put him on the bench, bring him on later on. You've got too many good wingers and fullbacks already, especially with Geordie Barrett there as well. There's too much good stuff. You don't need to just put a guy there because he doesn't fit the centres. If he doesn't fit in the centres, he doesn't fit the centres.
Yeah, he's on the bench. Yeah.
Oh, let's just drop the top try scorer in Super Rugby from last year.
Who cares? That's last year. Move on.
Yeah, no, I think
move on.
I think bringing on the big bulk and the size of Asso, because he is a big guy, bring him on at the end of the game. When the defense is lagging, steam all over the try line. Maybe you could even argue the same over Julian Savia. I mean, if he is on his way out in New Zealand, man, start him on the bench.
I think this is perfect for the Hurricanes' point of view about Julian Savia because, let's be honest, Julian Severe would use Super Rugby to get fit for the international season. Historically, he just would get unfit over the off season, and then would go, arrive in camp. Oh, I'm a bit roly-poly, and would get fit during the season. I would look great as soon as he put a black jersey on.
When June rolled around,
there's no way he's going to do that this year. If he wants that All Blacks jersey, he has to arrive absolutely in peak form and hit the ground running. And if he's motivated, then I think this could be the best thing for the Hurricanes. Is that they'll get a properly motivated and fit Julian Severe in there.
Well, he has to, doesn't he? Or else he's going to be out of the team because he's got too much talent everywhere else. I mean, if you're not going to show up, ship off. I'm not of the mind thought that just because you're a big name you deserve the place in the team. If you got to perform, I mean, if someone else is going to come, I mean, Jonah Lowe, he's a newcomer to this sort of level. If he's going to perform, he goes in the team. You're there to win. You're not there to please a guy because he's the next All Black.
Well, what's the best way to motivate someone who's got skill, who's got talent, who's not performing, is to drop him?
Yeah.
Yep.
And who would have thought we'd be having this conversation about this player, Julian Severe? I mean, he's basically out of the All Black picture. I still don't think, even if he does well this year, he'll get in. So
he'd have to have a phenomenal season. He'd have to play better than, reach the peaks, so to speak. Not just a good season. He has to have brilliant. There's too many other players around that have gone past him that have got that position now. So he's got to be better than those guys.
And I guess, I mean, not to stir up the old pot, but I'm not convinced on the Sonny Bill Williams. He hasn't really impressed me for a long time. Why is he automatically in the All Blacks? He does a good offload every now and then.
He actually buttoned his offload game back last year, quite noticeably. And the fact is that you'd expect him the dodgy offload to come along, and it's just like, actually he held the ball and took it into contact. Wow. Apart from the final movement of the Lions Blues game.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to complain about there.
Now, I think he's becoming a more rounded rugby player rather than a rugby league player who's playing rugby.
Yep.
And that's what we're actually seeing is that he's more used to it. I just want to go back to one of Steve's comments there about the All Black coaches giving Boyd a bit of a nudge. Hey, play this player. Apparently, they've not talked for the past 5 years.
That is bull. That is absolute bull.
So we're saying that Chris Boyd and Steve Hansen haven't passed in a long corridor ever for the last 3 years, and haven't sort of said, "Hey, how's it going?"
Okay, so we don't think that Boyd was fully truthful in his comment there. Then that there's no central chatting about or management of players in New Zealand. Then
I think Super Rugby coaches are quite hesitant to admit to international coaches having influence on their teams. They're very, very hesitant to talk about it, mention it, admit to it, or anything like that. But you've got to say, there's got to be a quiet word, and they're saying, we want to know what this guy's made of. This is the level that we get to find out. And there's got to be something. It's not. I don't think they'll be going, he's got to play 40 minutes every week. Let's just be like, let us see. There's a reason they're in the stands.
So there was no conversation between Steve Hansen and Chris Boyd last year about Dane Coles and his recovery. That's believable. Yeah. I can imagine that. Your number one hooker, you're not going to ask your local Super Rugby coach how he's progressing with his health.
No, I think the only thing Chris Boyd actually got wrong in that interview was about that he hasn't talked to Hansen. He was right, though, when he talked about the Super Rugby coaches being blocked to get to the All Blacks. And I think we've seen proof of that with Dave Rennie and others. All Blacks have already got their future coaches out. It'll be, like I said, Foster, Razor. That's the next 10 years.
And Razor will have to go in as one of Foster's assistants as well.
No, I think Razor will be head coach. I think
he'll eventually be head coach, but just like Foster's come in and been Hansen's assistant and then become head coach, I think Razor will come in as an assistant, and then when Foster leaves, he'll progress to be head coach.
Yep.
But I think that's how they do it. You have to be an assistant coach to get the head coach role. And
I'm not convinced on that. You know, I know we're digressing a bit, but I'm just not convinced that Ian Foster's going to be lumped straight in as All Blacks coach. He doesn't actually have a track record to justify it. And the fact is that if the NZRFU, because I thought do that, then they're basically telling every other coach that has ambitions of coaching the All Blacks, you're wasting your time.
No, you have to be the assistant coach. So
you have to, exactly. You have to go through their program. You know, just like going through under 19 schoolboys, under 19s, and up through the ranks. You have to do that. And it's like that's your coaching pathway to get to the All Blacks.
So Warren Gatland is the next assistant forwards coach for the All Blacks.
Well, Warren Gatland won't be back in New Zealand for as long as Steve Hansen is in charge of the All Blacks. Tell you that right now.
Exactly.
Where's he going to go, though? Because he's finishing with Wales, isn't he?
So Gatland will finish with Wales at the same time that Hansen finishes with the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Right.
So straight after the next Rugby World Cup, they both are resigning, and Gatland comes back to New Zealand. He said he's going to take a 6-month holiday, i.e. wait until the end of the season, because obviously his Rugby World Cup happens at the end of the season. And then he'll be picking up his next role, which he hopes is a Super Rugby role in New Zealand.
Right.
Blues coach.
Oh, he lives here. He's got a house here. Makes sense.
And his son plays for the team as well.
Dan Carter.
His son plays for the team as well. It all makes sense. And that worked so well with the Anscombs, didn't it?
Super successful, yeah.
Oh dear. Is there a beef between the two? Maybe Boyd would be open to All Blacks coaching, but Hansen is top dog. From the live chat, I don't know if there's any beef between Boyd and Hansen. Clearly, Boyd would like to head that way, but doesn't feel that there's the opportunities there. So I guess the beef is more he doesn't see he's got an opportunity. I don't know whether there's any personal issues between the two of them. I've not heard.
But who says that everybody in that setup, within New Zealand rugby, has to be best of buddies? We all work if you've worked in a large organisation, you'll work with people and you work amicably with people. Don't mean that you have to like them. Don't mean you have to want to go for a beer with them.
True. And as Boyd's leaving, Plumtree the next Hurricanes coach, or do you think they're going to reach outside the franchise?
No, I think it's go through the process.
You'll have to go through the process, the anointment process.
And then, for those of you listening to the podcast, Ashwin is waving his arm around. He's making some great radio. I had a few people ask me on Twitter as to who they think it's going to be, but I can't see it being anyone else but Plumtree. I think he's nailed on, isn't he, to be the next Hurricanes head coach.
He's carrying that cross.
Oh dear! Let's keeping religion and politics out of the rugby show would be fantastic. So we've been asked to have some chat about Brisbane Tens. Now I know nothing about Brisbane Tens, to be honest, apart from that King Carlos is back. Anyone else looking forward to the Tens?
No.
I'll watch it. I'll probably end up watching it, bits of it, because there'll be nothing else on. But it's hard to take a competition seriously, when you have these wild cards. And the fact is that I'm never going to get used to the fact that the best players within an organisation aren't available to play, even though they're fit.
Yep.
It's a serious competition, or it's not a serious competition. It's obviously not a serious competition because you don't send your best players.
It's kind of like the days when we saw the All Blacks playing in the Sevens team, wasn't it? It was, you couldn't really read much into it because it was just too different. It was a different world. It was a different thing, and you got it's like it's just a big party, isn't it? It's just a big go have fun. Look, Carlos is back. Yeah, he's gonna do some stupid sideways banana kicks and probably intercept him and go score down the other way. But who cares? It's Carlos. Yeah, it's just fun. It's fun. I don't think you can read anything into it whatsoever. Definitely not form.
No, not at all.
It is. It's just a party, isn't it? That's what
I just heard. You just heard on the radio today that the Crusaders aren't sending George Bridges, the captain, and basically just sending all second-tier players.
Well, the All Blacks are still on their mandatory 12 weeks rest, so they can't play.
Right. That's what that is, okay.
So that's what that is.
Convenient.
And I don't think they can play any of the warm-up games. I think they're like available for maybe the last warm-up game, and then it's straight to Super Rugby.
Yeah.
Is how it is. Richard asks, on top of the conversation where the New Zealand coaches are going to the UK, would this be the reason that why teams like England and Scotland and even Ireland and Wales are getting even better and threatening? Is it?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
and signing up Southern Hemisphere players to play in the international squads. Because Peter Arkey, Bundy Arkey is a great Irishman. You know, loves his Guinness.
This might be unpopular to say,
Ben Teo.
but don't underestimate the influence that the NZRU is having on the world game. We saw, I know we don't talk about mainstream media, but we saw a really brave bit of writing from Gregor Paul today. Yeah, I think.
No, I missed that. So go on, take us through. What do you have to say?
I haven't seen that either.
It's a big long thing, but just about like these, maybe players taking sabbaticals, but there's a bit of a discussion between New Zealand Rugby and overseas clubs beforehand. So yeah, but it's a big long thing. But I just leave it there.
Okay, I remember just we'll talk about world influence. I mean, obviously, clearly. New Zealand Rugby and the RFU had a big battle over the new, the next world, the thingamajig season, the international season, and how it all made up after the next 2020. And I think both sides kind of lost. The RFU wanted to play less games because they've got a nice, massive stadium that they fill and make lots of money from, and New Zealand has to play more games to earn that money. So New Zealand wanted more games, and the RFU wanted less games, and we've ended up with the same number of games, maybe one game less every 4 years. So that's, I think both sides lost in that argument. But when you're talking about the power of the New Zealand Rugby, if we all remember, just prior to the last Rugby World Cup, Naholo had signed to go to one of the French clubs, and I've gone blank as to which one it was. And he'd had a signed contract and everything, and then he suddenly got told, actually, you could be an All Black. And he went, what? Wow, I want to play. And so New Zealand Rugby applied pressure because he wanted to come. He wanted to not go. They applied pressure to the French club, and the French club said at the time, when New Zealand apply pressure, hey, there's only so much you can do, which was a real eye opener at the time because that's the first time I've ever heard a French club back down to a national association around this kind of stuff. So clearly, I've not read Gregor's piece, but there is, as you say, there is. New Zealand Rugby does have power. They are the strongest brand in world rugby, along with perhaps the British and Irish Lions. So there's definitely a big. They are a powerful force in world rugby.
But how do you know what else went on in that? I'll let you go.
Well, yeah, I'm just going to say, but you look at the number of players that are of New Zealand origin that are starting to actually play in the home nations squads. That's starting to grow. You look at the number of Fijian players that are starting to pop up in the French team, and it's like, so although like you take the Fijian players, New Zealand Rugby Union's not going to have any influence over that, but it's detrimental to Pacific Island rugby when you've got all these Fijian players being snapped up to play for France because they've been there 3 years. I don't know if you guys are aware. I mean, you've got French clubs going through the islands now, picking up schoolboys and signing them to multi-year contracts back in to play in France. Now, those guys, because they're starting at the ages of 15, 16, 17, they do their 3-year stint easily, and now then they're available for France, and obviously they're going to get a lot more money playing for France as well. So all the incentives are there to rape and pillage more than what the perception has been of the All Blacks doing of the islands, and it's just going to get worse. So,
what's changed? There's a couple of things changing. One is that the eligibility limit is going up from 3 to 5 years. and that will take effect from 2020. So basically what they did was they said, right, in 5 years' time, it takes effect so that anyone who's already living somewhere will become, so anyone who's like done 2 years doesn't suddenly find that the goalposts have moved, which is understandable. Yeah. And also French rugby is doing something similar to what English rugby is. So in England, what they have is they have English qualified players, or EQPs, and squads get remunerated by or clubs get remunerated by the RFU for the percentage of English qualified players they play during the Aviva Premiership. And since every single club, bar Exeter Chiefs, makes a loss in the Aviva Premiership, clearly the RFU can exert influence via cash. In France, they can't do that because the French television money is so big that they actually don't need the RFU. Actually, the clubs are richer than the federation. But the federation has gone around and said, okay, you have to have X number of French qualified players in the matchday squads. And that's going up by one player each year. So I think it's 13 now in the matchday squad, and it's going up to 17 over the next sort of 4 years. So what they're doing is, so this is why they're going earlier and putting these academies in Fiji, in Samoa, is because you say it takes 5 years to qualify. So therefore, you have to
pick them up earlier.
You have to pick them up earlier, so they're ready in time. The other side of it is also the French Rugby Union have said, now whether they're actually going to follow through on this or not is open to debate, but they said they will only select French passport holders. So not only do you have to be 5 years, you've also got to speak French, which you should do after 5 years, but because that's part of what you have to do to get your French nationalship. Sorry, my parents live in France, so they should
do that here.
What, everyone has to?
Well, you have to speak English after 5 years.
Yeah. Jesus.
Now, come on, guys. If we're going to be doing this properly, everyone has to speak. It was only Waitangi Day yesterday. Everyone has to speak English, Maori, and New Zealand Sign Language. Otherwise, you can't be a New Zealand citizen.
I was born here. I'm immune.
I'm tongue to Whenua, thank you.
So my three non-Maori friends here are all choking on their beer, on the teas, going, speak Maori, what? Anyway,
I can speak French. Hima Pal Eshwin.
Dear me. So yeah, I say French rugby. Not only that, also, and Andre makes a good point in the chat that South Africa has been leaking tons of players for years. It's the way of modern rugby, and Toulon, I think it is, or one of the sides, has set up an academy in one of the top schools in South Africa as well. So it's not just the Pacific Islands; it's also other places, and it's all down to this. Number of players they have to play in each matchday squad that are French eligible.
Right. So you've got to pick them up earlier.
Yep. Sorry, Montpellier. Thank you. Montpellier has links with rugby school at Grey College. Thank you, Andre. So it's just like having Google at your fingertips. We've run out of time. We're overrunning. Any kind of topics you guys want to have a chat about? Otherwise, we can wrap things up. Or did anyone actually see the HIA instance in the France-Ireland game?
Classic French manoeuvre, isn't it? It's sort of like, yeah, well, I did see it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's so obvious. The dude's gone down with a knee injury. And the doctor's nearly, doing the old taking a knee, taking care of his man, looking at the knee, turns to the sideline and touches the top of his head to indicate an HIA. So he's going off, bring another player on, and it's just like, yeah, it was bad as the old Nick Evans blood capsule scenarios. Remember those? If you remember that episode with the
and they've even now got a neutral doctor there, and if a player says, "Ouch, I've hurt my head," there's nothing the doctor can do. I'm really not sure how we're going to get around this because at the moment it is going down. We really do not want players to be to be faking things, and I can't see how we actually get out around this because players at the moment, have the opportunity to basically have rolling subs through people
unlimited interchange.
Yep, which I think is we can't have.
Mm. Yeah, no, so I don't know what the outcome's been of that, but there's some, I think, look into it. As you say, it's a tricky area because what can you do when the player goes, oh, ouchie, I hit my head. Or somebody give me a Panadol.
Cool. Okay, boys, I think we've covered all the top things. I will be doing a live post-game reaction to England versus Wales this weekend, so do get up early and watch that, or you can always watch recording if you fancy a lie-in. But quickly, let's go around the houses. Steve, where can people get in touch with you and have a chat with you during the week?
Okay, well, you can easily find me. Cornflake Script is the name. Everything, Twitter, YouTube. Come watch the videos. We're covering a lot of Super Rugby at the moment, actually, looking at the competition, the teams in each conference at the moment. So if you like what we had to say here, you can come and join us there. We've got a guest on for every conference and the usual rubbish of gaming and things like that as well. So, yeah, come visit.
Mr. Pullman, how can people get in touch with you and read your writing?
Cool. So you can follow me on Twitter at Real Mike Pullman. And also my website, realmichaelpullman.com, and my Facebook page, Real Michael Pullman, where I do live videos 4 nights a week. So check me out there. And
Mike's the one that actually gets to talk to real players. So he's interviewed players like Damon McKenzie, and he's also talked to Coleman, the coach. He's kind of real journo, unlike us fans who sort of just do it from the TV at home. And finally, Ashwin, you don't really have a website or YouTube channel, do you?
No. I just have musings on Twitter. You just follow me at NZFatso, and just make comments about life in general and rugby occasionally.
So thank you everyone for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You can always watch us on YouTube, as I've said, at 8 p.m. on Tuesdays. Next week, we'll be previewing Super Rugby as a whole rather than a specific conference. If you want to learn about the South Africa Conference or Australian Conference, go back and listen to the last 2 episodes. I've been Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Just search DrivingMaul. I'm in most places. And as I say, catch the live post-game reaction to the England versus Wales this weekend. It should be an absolute cracker.